So since we last spoke, the Super Bowl halftime show, yes, not only did it make Elon Musk has broken the hearts of millions after announcing that he is putting this Mars dream on pause. Some members of Congress will be able to view the Epstein files unredacted. That is going to be huge. After a lot of speculation, turns out the UK's Prime Minister, Keir Starmer, will not resign. And I can now confirm to you, officially, the Canada Alex video will be out this week, most probably Wednesday. So subscribe to the channel because you do not want to miss that one. It is going to be a banger. Now, let's stop the yapping and let's go the rockin'! Okay, just want to preface this video by saying that this is one of the most time-crunched videos, even more than the journey up to the London airport car video is episode. So, excuse the chaos. But I did not want to miss a Monday episode because we make promises on this channel and we deliver. So, let's talk about the biggest story of the weekend, the Super Bowl. Because guess what, guys? Not only did I watch my first ever Super Bowl, no, I was not there, but I did watch it in America, which was a whole experience. I literally got off the flight, checked into my hotel, delirious with jet lag. I was like, oh, isn't the Super Bowl on? That's a pretty big deal, isn't it? Turned on the TV. It was. I ordered a fried chicken burger. I was looking out at the Hollywood sign, and it was peak American experience, watching all of these Super Bowl ads with a fried chicken burger. And on that note, I genuinely couldn't believe how many adverts you guys have for a sports game. I genuinely think you're watching less football than you are commercials. But at the same time, the commercials somehow are very entertaining. Now, end result, and only the Americans will care about this, but the Seattle Seahawks won. But that doesn't seem like what anyone's talking about today, which is crazy. Entirely in Spanish. Apparently, the only thing that he said in English was, God bless America. Also, according to some initial estimates, this might be the most viewed halftime show in American history, exceeding 135 million. Now, to make it clear, those are not the official numbers. Those are just the first ones that we have to work with. He was also accompanied by many different guests like Lady Gaga, Ricky Martin, Cardi B, Karol G, Pedro Pascal, Jessica Alba, etc. But apparently, it was real. So, I don't know who they are, but that's pretty insane to get married at the halftime show.
Apparently they invited him, and then he invited them to come.
We're getting live information from the bathroom. Zaddy says, oh, apparently, and yes, Alex, including Canada. There's also a banner in the background that read, the only thing more powerful than hate is love, kind of like a hint to everything that's going on in America right now. And the football that he held read the words, together we are America. Now that's what made this halftime show so interesting, because it comes at a time where there's this huge disagreement about immigration, what makes American culture, in fact, what is American culture in the first place. But here's the thing, going into the halftime show, Bad Bunny was not only the most streamed artist of the year, but he also won Grammys. So it's like, it would make sense that he was the one chosen to perform this show. But then you've got the other side, and they're saying that the halftime show is sacred. It's a place to celebrate American culture, and they accuse Bad Bunny of not making any songs in English, and therefore his music is not representative of true American culture. He also apparently previously spoke out against ICE, which I'm sure that's got something to do with the controversy. So yet again, in America, something as seemingly non-political as a halftime show became very political. And there was a lot of strong reactions on both ends. Firstly, a lot of public figures came out applauding the performance, saying that it was amazing. Gavin Newsom, he said, America, the beautiful, thank you, Bad Bunny. There were celebrities that heaped on the praise like Adam Sandler.
What'd you think of halftime? Oh, Benita was unbelievable. Loose, happy, made everybody ecstatic. I loved it. And congrats to the bunny. He's a great human being. Awesome. Fly safe. Love you. Get home.
Even non-Americans, Piers Morgan, he said that he absolutely loved Bad Bunny's halftime show, saying that the energy was great, that it was a confident performance, and it had a very welcomed, unifying message. And he said also, Spanish is the first language for over 50 million Americans. American, so they can't be complaining about, oh, it's not in English, it's not American culture. Another person said, this made me feel more proudly American than anything Kid Rock has ever done. Another person said, did I understand a single word of it? I did not. Was it a vibe? It was. But on the other side, there was a lot of criticism of this performance. And that came all the way from the top as well, because Donald Trump posted on Truth Social following the halftime show saying, it was absolutely terrible, one of the worst ever. It makes no sense, doesn't represent our standards of success, creativity, or excellence. Nobody understands a word this guy is saying, and the dancing is disgusting, especially for young children who are watching. He also labeled it a slap in the face to our country, and so on. Feel free to pause and read the entire thing. There's also people like Jake Paul, who called him a fake American citizen and actually tried to boycott, get everyone to boycott the halftime show by turning it off. He said, let's rally together and show big corporations they can't just do whatever they want without consequences. Turn off this halftime, a fake American citizen performing who publicly hates America. I cannot support that. On top of that, though, this is where things get a little bit confusing on this front. Logan Paul, he responded to Jake saying, I love my brother, but I do not agree with this. Puerto Ricans are Americans, and I'm happy that they were given the opportunity to showcase the talent that comes out of the island. A lot of people were criticizing Jake because obviously him and his brother live in Puerto Rico to get away from taxes. But then with Logan Paul saying that, there was also a clip of him going viral with someone asking him, are you excited to watch the halftime show? And he just bluntly responded, no.
Logan, are you excited for the halftime show?
No. But then he also came out with a completely opposite tweet saying that he, disagrees with what Jake was saying. On that front, it could have been him just joking because Bad Bunny was also in the WWE, and so it could have been like a character role sort of thing. We don't know. Now, speaking of the people who are criticizing the Bad Bunny halftime show, Turning Point USA, they decided as a kind of message to the people, they would host their own, quote, true American halftime show headlined by none other than Kid Rock. In fact, some people even started posting videos of themselves at the Super Bowl watching the Turning Point USA halftime show instead of watching the one that's in front of them. And to be fair, on that front, it actually didn't do too badly at all. They had about 5 to 6 million live viewers at one point, which obviously is much lower than the actual Super Bowl, but still for a live stream, pretty significant. But controversies aside for a second, the craziest thing for me as a non-American watching the Super Bowl for the first time was the amount of commercials. Not even just commercials, but any space where you could fit a brand logo or something like that, it was done. And for all of us non-Americans that are used to watching sports like the Premier League, Champions League, World Cup, yeah, they have advertisements, but it is nothing like the freaking NFL. In fact, I was so shocked about how much money they had put into just, this few hours of TV that I had to Google which sports league makes the most money. And I was shocked by the answer. Not only does the NFL make the most, this is in 2024, $19 billion, but also the NBA and even baseball makes more money than the Premier League, when the Premier League blows them all out of the water with actual viewership. For example, over the weekend, Man City and Liverpool played, and that was not even like a final. It was just for 3 points. It was obviously a big game, two big sides playing each other, but it was nothing consequential like the Super Bowl. Yet apparently it had a global viewership of 750 million. Meanwhile, the Super Bowl, which is by far the biggest game of the NFL, had 220 million viewers. How the hell? And despite that, the NFL still crushes the Premier League when it comes to making money. That is America! Anyway, lots to talk about in that subject. It was quite a surreal experience, and also watching it here as well. So, let us know what you think in the comments, but for now, moving on. Because we got to talk about Elon, and it's been a little bit of a disappointing week for space travel. So as you guys remember, in the last episode, we were speaking about NASA trying to get humans back to the moon for the first time in over 50 years, and what a big problem that has been. But also, now Elon Musk is breaking our hearts as well, because Elon has officially announced that they are delaying SpaceX's Mars mission. Now that's pretty much everything that people know about Elon. Elon, the man that is trying to turn humans into a multi-planetary species. But here's the thing, he hasn't scrapped it, he hasn't said no, he's delaying it and actually replacing that priority with going back to the moon. He said, for those unaware, SpaceX has already shifted focus to building a self-growing city on the moon, as we can potentially achieve that in less than 10 years, whereas Mars would take 20 plus years. The mission of SpaceX remains the same: extend consciousness and life as we know it to the stars. Yeah, I guess you could rejig it that way. But he did end it off by saying, that said, SpaceX will strive to build a Mars city and begin doing so in about 5 to 7 years. But the overriding priority is securing the future of civilization, and the moon is faster. Does that mean if you put humans on the moon, you could secure civilization? Is that a place where humans could or would want to live? And on top of that, this is a very different tone to what he said just a year ago. He said, we're going straight to Mars. The moon is a distraction. And now he's like, oh, for those unaware, actually, we're just a casual thing. What is it, Elon? And when he says 5 to 7 years, Elon is also known for way shortening the timeline of things that he is working on. So 5 to 7 years, maybe 57 years. I don't know. Either way, I very much hope that he succeeds with what he's doing, because the idea and the mission is very cool. And I think we should all support, you know, future innovation. Anyway, let me know your thoughts in the comments, but for now, moving on. Also, we have some more Epstein news. There is actually a lot more than just what we're going to cover today, but this is all we have time for, and I think it's the most interesting. So just in case you didn't know, I don't know if you spotted it, it was kind of hard to tell, but there was a lot of redactions in the Epstein files. However, today we have just found out that Congress will be allowed to view the unredacted versions of these emails and documents, and that is significant, because may I remind you that some of those emails were from, let me just run them through again. This email from 2009 where Epstein says to someone, "Where are you? Are you okay? I loved the torture video." That is sent to someone redacted. Why? What the hell? And there's also a bunch of other emails similar to this where they told us, you know, we were only redacting things that were to protect victims, maybe ongoing cases, but here, another email example. This one's from Epstein. "Do you want me to try and do her or just torture her?" You get the point. You can read it. And there were so many different examples of this where they're clearly not victims, and they are actually, many of them, from individuals, you know, that are messaging Epstein about things where you're like, that is easily deserving of a subpoena to bring them in for questioning, yet it's redacted. Why? So, point is, will these members of Congress be able to see this and actually follow through, be like, this person should not have been redacted? Now, the unfortunate part of this is that this will be private, and they won't even be allowed any electronics into the room when they read these files. It's also not clear if any of these individuals that will be able to see the unredacted versions will be able to talk about it publicly, about what they saw. They will actually have to view them on DOJ computers in person. So, I mean, glimmer of hope, but we'll see what happens. Also, on the Epstein front, there was a lot of speculation this week that Keir Starmer may have to resign because of the whole Epstein drama. We spoke about it a lot in the previous video where Lord Mandelson, he is kind of tight with Keir Starmer, to put it simply. Keir Starmer actually gave him the role of US ambassador as recent as last year, I believe. And this was after his dealings with Jeffrey Epstein was known publicly. So everyone was saying, Keir Starmer, how could you not do a thorough background search into Peter Mandelson? And despite this, you still gave him roles in your cabinet. And this is also on top of Keir Starmer having some of the lowest ratings of a British Prime Minister in decades, if not, I believe they hit some all-time lows. So yeah, many people were thinking, even like the CNN was writing articles that, you know, the Epstein fallout could topple a government, and that was Keir Starmer's government. So there were a lot of signs. Keir Starmer, this could be his last week, but turns out, no. He will not be resigning, at least for now, until maybe something else comes up. And also, sticking on the British Epstein front, which is a weird thing to say, Prince William and his wife Kate have spoken and addressed the Epstein situation for the first time ever. They said that they are deeply concerned by the latest revelations about Jeffrey Epstein, and then they said they were focused on the victims in this whole situation. So yeah, not much more on that situation. Again, as I said, pretty chaotic. let's move on. And then for the final story that I wanted to talk about was a fascinating article that I read from the BBC. Because remember, it was a couple of years back, they had that huge hearing on AI and AI regulation, and they wanted to set up parameters addressing the global dangers of this AI race that we are just heading towards, barreling. And that was when the whole world was listening to some of these experts, these tech experts, not just people that are scared by AI because they don't know much about it, but these experts were saying this could be dangerous. And if we get into a global competition and race, who could advance AI faster without guardrails? We could be cooked. Well, let me tell you, we might be in the end game and past that point, because I don't remember almost any guardrails being set up in a meaningful way following that huge hearing. Now, the BBC, in their article, they spoke about their investigation into the 996 culture that is emerging in AI, that is working 9 a.m. to 9 p.m. 6 days a week. They talk about a New York AI startup called Rilla, which openly advertises 70-hour work weeks when it comes to working with them on AI. And they pitch these extreme hours as a badge of ambition rather than a burden. The leadership argues that they hire, quote, Olympian-style employees who are obsessed with winning and innovation, especially in the high-stakes AI race, where speed can decide who survives. Now, any red flags pop up for any of you guys talking about speed of work on AI? That's going to decide who the winner is? My first thought was speed kills. Speed is when you make your mistakes. Now, supporters of this work hustle culture, especially when it comes to AI, they say that it doesn't really feel like work when you're doing what you love. And others argue that industries like the tech space have been working like this for years. However, critics argue, including experienced investors, they're warning that equating long hours with productivity is a mistake. They say that it often leads to burnouts, exclusion of older workers, and diminishing returns. And they also talk about a lot of the health risks of working this hard. Global studies link working over 55 hours a week to higher rates of strokes, heart disease, and death. But to be honest, when I was reading this, I wasn't really thinking about the health side of things. I was thinking about, we're at a space now when people are working 75 hours a week on AI. I don't know if there's any turning back from this. The world is very clearly deeply entrenched in an AI race. Who can come out with the most capable, intelligent, and effective AI software? And of course, competition, it breeds excellence. But when it comes to AI, how excellent and capable do we want this technology to be before we understand the full potential of AI and its consequences? Either way, it's just something I thought was very interesting, and it's like a generational catch-up on an update of years ago. I told you I'd keep you updated. Anyway, I've got a wrap. We've got a lot of things to do today, and I'm just very happy that we were able to get this video out. I apologize. I don't feel like it was the most put together, but it's out. It's with you guys, and I hope that you enjoy this. As I said, Wednesday is the target to get you this beefy Canada video. It's over an hour long, so be prepared. You're gonna lock in, watch it instead of a movie, and it's amazing. So I'll see you then. Have a fantastic start of the week, and woo, yeah. It's literally answering the door so we can eat breakfast. Love you guys. Appreciate you.